this.
Once upon a time in a kingdom called Hollywood.
No, wait, stop! We're not allowed to use that, Hollywood. Where's the other one? What do you mean you can't find it? Oh, wait. I remember now. I think we filed it under a different name. Check Storyland. You found the footage? Yes. Script? Yes? Okay, good. Right, good to go. Okay. Sean, you ready?
Yep.
Right. Okay, stand by, folks. Here we go. Lights, camera, action.
Once upon a time in a kingdom called Storyland, the studio executives faced a terrible crisis. The box office numbers were looking rather grim, and their crystal ball analyst delivered some shocking news. Half the potential audience, the woman, seemed less than thrilled with always watching men have all the fun and being the heroes in movies. So a solution was needed, and it was needed fast. While the executives were brainstorming in their ivory towers, one of the board members piped up and said, "What if we told women they weren't just meant for raising kids, shopping, cleaning the house and having dinner on the plate when hubby returns from work? What if we told them that they could actually be the heroes in their own stories?" The revelation sent excitement waves through the boardroom. All those empty theatre seats, all that untapped revenue, all those women who weren't buying tickets because they were tired of watching themselves exist only to motivate, support, or even occasionally die dramatically to make the male hero feel sad for about 30 seconds. Imagine all those theatre seats full. One of the corporation's top analysts working in the basement. Now let's just clear this up. This isn't a sweatshop type situation or that he was a naughty boy being punished. He just liked working there because it was quiet and silent with no distractions. Anyway, while working in and listening in on the conversation in the boardroom, he suddenly yelled over the speaker, "That's it! I can't believe we missed this." The solution was staring us right in the face. So you see, if we tap into the potential market, the numbers indicate that we could start seeing profits. But this is only if we ensure that women star as the heroes in their own stories, that they save the day or that they drive the plot. So I'm talking about stories where women are more than just prizes, plot devices, or even professionally worried girlfriends. After hearing this, the executives got all excited and started clapping hands. Let there be profits! Let there be female heroes, they declare. But there's a twist in this tale. Cue the dramatic music. Through all of the excitement about potential profits and bonuses, the studio executives forgot one thing. There were no new stories for the heroines to live in. So they gathered again, they brainstormed again, and men being, well, men, they decided the solution was to hand the same old scripts that had been written by men, for men, to the heroine characters. And so began the great evolution of the hero manufacturing plant, where empowerment came, well, let's just say with a very confusing set of assembly instructions. Okay, wait, now I'm also confused. Folks, I think for this all to make sense, we need to take a step back to where it all began. Our story begins in the golden age of the hero manufacturing plant, when the kingdom was absolutely certain about what heroes looked like. For decades, this magnificent factory had perfected the ultimate product. Trademark toys, dolls, and lunchboxes sold separately. Picture this. Here we have the hero assembly line in full swing. There's Stallone characters rolling out with maximum muscle and minimal vocabulary. Then there's Arnie Schwarzenegger characters equipped with one-liner generators and accent modulators. As well as prototypes featuring emotional suppression technology and advanced smoking capabilities. And Gibson variants loaded with revenge-driven motivation systems and brooding enhancement packages.
Tough guy.
Every hero came with standard features, a mysterious traumatic backstory that explains, well, nothing other than their inability to express feelings and then to solve everything with fists and violence, while declaring, "I work alone because caring about people is dangerous. However, I do still want the damsel in distress next to me so I can show her my huge biceps." Maybe more.
So good.
Quality control was beautifully simple. If the classic hero could grunt dramatically and walk away from explosions without looking back, in slow motion of course, they passed inspection. The kingdom's executives loved these characters. They were reliable, predictable, and came with easy-to-follow instruction manuals. Need a problem solved? No problem, apply violence. Need character development? Well, then add more grunting, as emotional trauma is for sissies, as cowboys don't cry, remember? Still need emotional development? Well then, have him punch something while looking sad.
Awkward.
And women? Well, they were in these stories. They served as the motivation for revenge for these male heroes. Well, that's except for John Wick, who did it for his dog, and I think that's fantastic. More of those heroes, please. So women served as the motivation for taking revenge. They became the prize at the end of the adventure. Basically, the damsel in distress needing to be rescued by the male hero. And the prettier the damsel, the better. But then something strange started to happen.
What?
Market research began revealing that half the potential audience, the female half as mentioned earlier, wanted to see themselves as the heroes of these stories. The factory faced its first real crisis. How do you serve a market you've never designed for without actually changing anything that feels important? And when we say important, we're not talking about asking what do women want. We mean keeping the male hero bigger, stronger, more violent, more brooding, while still including the dainty pretty woman as a footnote to justify why he is the way he is and does what he does.
Oh, yeah.
In trying to learn from the gender swap era's mixed reviews and results, yes, those same old white honkies' next brilliant idea was to ask, what if we take our oldest, most beloved female characters and give them the hero trademark package upgrade? Enter the retrofit classic phase. Snow White, the ultimate domestic assistant, would receive the complete hero trademark makeover. No more waiting for the prince to rescue her. She'd handle her own issues. No more cleaning houses. She'd be cleaning up the male character's mess. The marketing department was absolutely ecstatic. Classic nostalgia meets modern empowerment. The retrofit program expanded rapidly, with Snow White becoming the flagship model. The original character, who succeeded through emotional intelligence, community building, and bringing out the best in others, would now be reconfigured as the standard individual trademark character, which was characterized as being emotionally distant, self-reliant, and solving problems through combat rather than connection. It was like taking a symphony conductor and retraining them to be a solo guitarist. Technically skilled, yes, but missing the entire point of what made them special to begin with. But here's where the factory's plan revealed its deepest flaws. This empowered Snow White spectacularly failed at the box office. Audiences rejected what was essentially a male hero wearing Snow White's dress. The irony was brutal. In trying to make Snow White stronger by masculine standards, of course, they stripped away everything that actually made her powerful to begin with. Her ability to see the good in others, to build community, to lead through compassion rather than conquest. What was even more telling was the factory's decision to use computer-generated characters instead of casting actual dwarf actors, a choice that somehow managed to exclude real people while claiming to champion inclusion. It was empowerment theatre at its most hollow, talking about representation while literally erasing the very people who should have been represented. But here's the fascinating part. Despite Snow White's failures, every retrofit followed the exact same process. Classic fairy tale princesses would enter the transformation workshop radiant and distinct, each embodying their own form of strength, grace, and charm. They carried power in gentleness, resilience in kindness, and presence in their individuality. But inside the workshop, something was always stripped away. Smiles replaced with frowns, flowing dresses exchanged for combat boots, poised elegance turned into combat-ready stances. Magic wands gave away to swords, tiaras to battle helmets. Though they began as entirely different characters, each already complete in their own way, they all emerged looking eerily alike. They were wearing the same hardened expressions and striking the same tough, angry poses as their male counterparts. As time rolled on and production lines continued, the retrofit classics era taught the factory something unexpected. When audiences rejected Snow White's corporate makeover, they weren't just rejecting one failed product. They were rejecting the entire assembly line philosophy. You see, the problem wasn't that retrofitting had gone wrong. It was that retrofitting itself was entirely the wrong approach. And so the factory faced a crisis of unprecedented scale. If they couldn't just swap genders and they couldn't just upgrade classics, what could they do? Folks, once again we turn our attention to, yes, you guessed it, the same old white cronies who were still in charge and their fragile egos still intact. They debated once again, and this time agreed that perhaps they wouldn't limit themselves to fairy tale remakes. This time, they would apply their faulty formula to everything. Every genre, every franchise, every story that dared to feature a female lead, all in the hope that something, anything, would finally stick. Welcome to Act 4, the broader assembly line problem, where the factory's desperate spray and pray strategy unleashed their faulty formula like a contagion across every department. The same assembly errors that had failed before now infected all production lines, from action movies, sci-fi franchises to superhero sagas, all spreading like a virus that had learned to replicate itself throughout the entire system. What initially started as isolated incidences of gender swap disasters had now evolved into a full-scale epidemic of identical cookie-cutter empowerment. In the Action Hero workshop, female leads again got the full tough guy trademark package, which included but was not only limited to emotional walls thicker than armor plating, prove yourself through violent settings, and the classic, I don't do feelings, I do destruction dialogue scripts. This meant that Salt's Evelyn essentially became Jason Bourne in a blonde wig. Same emotional numbness, same solve everything through combat approach, same inability to trust anyone without putting a gun to their head first. In Proud Mary, she got the stoic assassin upgrade, essentially becoming Denzel Washington's equalizer with different hair. Same cold efficiency, same emotional suppression technology, and the standard kill first, feel nothing ever operating system. The Marvel department had two standard upgrades, the emotionally suppressed warrior and the tragic past assassin trademark packages. If we look at Black Widow, she got the tragic assassin package, where having feelings was only acceptable if they were about past trauma, guilt, and shame. Essentially, she was the Winter Soldier template, just with different pronouns. Gamora, on the other hand, received the Deadly Warrior Seeking Redemption upgrade, which made her virtually indistinguishable from any other conflicted assassin hero. The only difference is she had green skin. Even when the factory thought they were being innovative, they kept defaulting to the same specifications. Emotional isolation? Check. Solve problems through violence? Check. Work alone against overwhelming odds? Check. Reject anything traditionally feminine as weakness? Double check. Trust no one, need no one, be no one except a very efficient problem-solving machine? Triple check. Having failed at addressing the fundamental issues related to the hero upgrades on the assembly line, the executives now faced an additional problem. They targeted consumers, those who would potentially bring in the big bucks at the box office. And we're not just talking about the female portion of the population, as there were many men as well who were all starting to wise up towards the attempts at reclothing the masculine hero archetype. And they were not buying this new form of empowerment branding anymore. Audiences started asking dangerous questions like, why do all these empowered women act exactly like men with anger management issues? And where are all the heroes who solve problems and fight crime by just being who they are? But most dangerously of all, what if there are entirely different ways to be powerful that does not involve suppressing everything that makes you human? The executives in their tighty whities now found themselves at a crossroads. The old assembly line was failing. Consumers were demanding authentic innovation and not just cosmetic upgrades. The gender swap machine was starting to gather dust. The retrofit department was in crisis mode. Even the marketing department's empowerment stickers weren't fooling anyone anymore. Through this all, the executives finally began to realize that the problem wasn't that women couldn't be heroes. It was that the factory had only ever designed one type of heroism, and that type was never meant to fit half the population. It was like trying to put everyone in the same size shoe and then wonder why so many people were limping. I mean, imagine trying to put every male action star in a pair of high-heel stilettos and not limp or twist an ankle. And so, dear viewer, as all good fairy tales must end, we leave our kingdom at a moment of great transformation. The old hero manufacturing plant is finally being decommissioned, and the people are demanding genuine innovation, not recycled products with new labels. The question now being asked isn't whether our heroines can succeed on someone else's assembly line, or whether they can wear someone else's costume and make it look good. What if, and not just with fairy tales in Storyland, we had heroes who built teams instead of working alone, who understood that the strongest person in the room might be the one who makes everyone else feel stronger too by respecting difference in all its forms, by understanding that true heroism isn't about how much of yourself or others you can destroy. It's about how much of yourself you are brave enough to reveal. That real power isn't proving you don't need anyone. It's proving that needing each other isn't a weakness. It's the whole point. Heroism isn't a solo project, and it was never meant to be. The end? Well, perhaps just the beginning of an entirely new production line. One where the stories are still being written by the people living in them, both on screen and in life, where heroism isn't masculine or feminine, but authentic, where real strength comes not from standing alone against the world, but from embracing our differences and lifting each other up, where empowerment isn't a costume you slip on each morning, but the authentic self you've had the courage to be all along, and the wisdom to see that very same authenticity and strength in others.